And now, from the studios of Renegade Talk Radio in Maui, Hawaii, and the southwestern Arizona desert, it's time for the RaunchFoxxx Foxxxcast. With your host, 6'10" RaunchFoxxx, the smokescreen machine, Paullywood, and one slick bitch, Natty C. So sit back, strap in, and get ready for another great ride. Here's your host, RaunchFoxxx.
All right. Hey, everybody. What's going on? It is RaunchFoxxx, RenegadeTalkRadio.com. Welcome once again to yet another edition, episode number 9 already of the RaunchFoxxx Foxxcast. Right here again, RenegadeTalkRadio.com, home of Richie and Marla and our congressman-to-be over in Connecticut, Carl Higbee. Welcome each and every one of you. So what's been happening out there? Well, today we've got a lot of things going on, especially in the ranks of the Renegade Talk Radio staff here. Paullywood, are you there? Hello, Paullywood. Come in from the East Coast.
I am here, Raunch. How are you doing, my friend?
Good to hear you, buddy. Good to hear you. All the way over there on the East Coast, and we're down here in the prickly desert, the southwestern desert, while Rich and Marla are looking at all the skanks on the beach down there in Maui. It's a tough life, and unfortunately, Natty C's not with us tonight. Everybody's having a decent life. Natty's had a tough week. She's been kicked around more than a fucking soccer ball in the international nationals, whatever you call it, because I'm not a soccer guy. But anyway, she had a kid that got the flu last week or so, had 104 temperature at one time, I think about a 12-year-old or 14, somewhere in there. Anyway, very sick. And, of course, she had felt great. I'm thinking, oh, great, right? So tonight, she's coming off of some serious laryngitis, and she's not going to be with us tonight. She got sick. And I don't know, Paulie, I think she's broke the Guinness Book of World Records for spending time in doctors' offices for the past 3 or 4 days. But the reason I say that, too, is because she's just not here tonight. Let's just say that. And, of course, you know, when you're stuck in a doctor's office in the wee hours of the early evening in Arizona, you know, and it's 2 or 3 days later and you still haven't found your voice yet. You know what I would say to that, Paulie?
What would you say to that, Raunch?
Lift those big tits and check under there. Thank you so much. You're like a stray guy. What would I say, Paulie? I don't know. What would you say, Raunch? Well, I'm going to tell you, Paulie. But anyway, it's good to be here. It's me and you. We're going to have some good chat tonight. We've got some great stuff to talk about. But, Paulie, I don't know if you heard, Joe Biden opened an Instagram account. I don't know if you heard about that or not. Did you? Or if not, I'd be more than happy to share it with you.
Well, it doesn't surprise me that Joe Biden is opening an Instagram account. It doesn't surprise. He's one of these narcissistic types anyway.
Perfect.
You almost have to be a narcissist to get into the position that he is.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. In fact, he sent his first selfie through the site, saying that he found a friend to join him. The photo featured Biden with Obama sitting in the back of a limousine. So he takes a selfie with Obama in the back of a limousine, and I don't know about you, Paulie, but I'd say he's just one game of beer pong away from officially kicking off spring break. You know what I'm saying? just my opinion. He's got that shit-eating grin to go with it. Are you a religious guy, Paulie? I'm just curious.
Religious, maybe not so much, but I have faith. I do believe in the big Hulkamaniac upstairs, so to speak. I think I've got a good one-to-one relationship with him, and I thank him every day for making me a part of this great show. So let's say maybe, but not yet.
Paulie just got Vaseline all over my leg, but thank you so. Well, Sunday's Easter is what I'm getting at, you know, obviously. And yes, this is a dated podcast, so if you hear it after Sunday, you've already celebrated your Easter, if indeed you celebrated it all. But Easter, as you know, it's the occasion where millions of Americans gather together to worship their one true God, and of course that's eating. Oh man, I was looking at the news the other day. U.S. Airways had tweeted a pic of a woman humping a model airplane. Did you see that or hear about that at all?
I seem to remember seeing something about that. Does this have anything to do with the Malaysia air flight?
Not at all. This is a true story. They tweeted the pic of the woman in the airplane and humping, you know. Anyway, apparently, U.S. Airways, they apparently have 2 sections in their airplane. That would be first class or a cooch. Anyway, sorry about that, buddy.
Book my ticket for cooch, please.
There you go. Exactly right. And like Dice Man says, what do you mean there's no smoking? You're in a fucking tube, for Christ's sake. Anyway, the Journal Medical Daily They say there's reliable evidence that dark chocolate, a natural antioxidant, can help keep the body thin. And Jenny Craig jumped on that report. She's now got a dessert featuring dark chocolate syrup, and you can either eat it or you can take it by IV. I got to tell you, I got a fetish. Jen tries to keep me healthy, but when she's not looking, I sneak over to the store and get a box of those dark chocolate Raisinets. I love those things. Man, do I love those things.
Raisinets are good. They'll also kind of help keep you regular,
Well, they do. They do. Of course, what Jen does, though, she licks all the chocolate off, and then she tries to make wine with the raisins because she don't want to wait. She'd rather the wine already be aged. Anyway, down in South Carolina, a crocodile. Somebody dropped a crocodile off at a Southern California mall. They traced it to the bayou in Louisiana. True story. This is absolutely true. Herpetologists from the Los Angeles Zoo, they took a sample of the crocodile's DNA. They discovered that it matched a pair of Matthew McConaughey's shoes while he was filming the movie True Detective there. Hey, little sister, where have you gone? That's my alligator sister. Commemorative stamp. You ready for this? You hear about the latest stamp coming out the Postal Service?
Are they not always changing or coming out with new commemorative stamps? I mean, what else does the post office have to do to remain relevant?
If I say NSA with really shitty teeth, who would that remind you of?
NSA with really shitty teeth. Oh, man. Jeez, you've got me there, Raunch.
Charlton Heston.
Ah, there you go.
Charlton Heston. Commemorative stamp. Honoring the memory of Charlton Heston, obviously. It's going to be their first to offer optional flavored glue that actually tastes like fucking gunpowder. But it's going to happen. Jeff Gordon has a daughter. She's 6 years old now. You ready for this? She can drive a race car. 6 years old. 6. Are you listening? Natty, are you there? I'm sorry. Paulie, are you there? Natty, are you there? Paulie, what?
That is 6 years old and drive. What kind of a race car is she driving?
It's a modeled down version, sized down, obviously. I mean, she's old enough to go into turns at 100 miles an hour, but she's still not old enough to go into Toys R Us and buy her own fucking Barbie yet. You know what I mean? Anyway, what are you going to do? Also, in international news, the India Times reported the number one concern of India's 900 million voters. Are you ready for this? Number one issue? Public sanitation. Sanitation. Yeah. They said that open sewers are contaminating the holy rivers. Now, India produces 200,000 tons of human waste per day, second only to the congressional record. If you want to know more about that, ask Carl Higbee. Also, McDonald's was in Crimea. Okay, Russia takes over Crimea. McDonald's is in Crimea. They closed 3 of their restaurants there. They said they'd rather live under the they'd rather just close, actually. They said they'd rather close than live under the control of the Russian government. And, I mean, let's face it, the society's really not ready for McDonald's anyway. The Russian people, they're still dying for anti-government activity, and they're not even far enough along yet to die of obesity. So it's probably a good thing. Probably a good thing. Also, you know, speaking of government, Rob Lowe, he was kind of vocal this past week. He made headlines saying that he wanted to see an end to big government, and that he wished the government would get out of people's lives. Now, no one in Hollywood has ever dared say this before. I mean, is there anything in the world more honest than an actor's retirement speech? You know what I'm saying? So much for Mr. Lowe. Also, this is for more for women, but you've consumed some alcohol in your day, I'm sure. There's a study that says low to moderate alcohol consumption while pregnant can lead to premature birth. And you know why? That's because the baby wants to get the hell out of there because he didn't want to miss happy hour, you know? And lastly, Robin Thicke's in the news. You know Robin Thicke, all right? Yeah, the Blurred Lines fella. He offered advice on love after his split from his wife. Robin Thicke offered love advice after he split up with his wife. Now, Robin, I mean, number one, it's probably not a good idea to be seen running around twerking on live TV with Miley Cyrus. Let's start there. But if you know what I'm saying.
Wait a second, though, Ray. Robin Thicke is actually the father of the guy who sings Blurred Lines. Did you know that? Robin Thicke was the guy from the show Growing Pains, and his son. Actually, you're wrong. That was Alan Thicke. Oh, that's right. You're right. Okay. Alan Thicke.
That's all right.
Guy from Growing Pains. My mistake.
That's all right. The bottom line is it was thick enough to get behind Molly, and everybody was like, All right, so either way, nice try. All right, so anyway, folks, that's the way we see the news in and around the world right about now. So listen, when we come back, we're gonna put it right in your face. Paullywood's going to come up with that smoke screen machine. We're going to be kicking it about the Agenda 21 and good old Cliven in Nevada. We're going to be talking about other trends as well. What Malaysian jetliner? What? 300 people on a ferry. You can't move. You're going to sink. We got a lot more. Stick around. It's a RaunchFoxxx Foxxcast right here on RenegadeTalkRadio.com.
We'll be back with more of the RaunchFoxxx Foxxcast here on Renegade Talk Radio. No whims. You know if you belong. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm a Mac.
Hello, I'm a PC.
Hey guys, and I'm a human being.
Oh, as a Mac, I can instant message my friends.
As a PC, I can host my own chat room.
Yeah, that's neat. I usually invite friends over for a cookout, have a few drinks, and sit around and laugh a lot. It's great.
Oh. Well, hey, I can download pictures of Miss July.
And I can meet interesting singles in my area.
Wow. I have an actual girlfriend. Sometimes we go to the movies.
Well, I can download movies.
Or we'll go to a concert.
I can share music.
We make out a lot, and sometimes she spends the night. In fact, I'm going over to her place right now. See you guys.
Oh. Could you write about it on your blog? Do you have a webcam?
Go ahead. Slow your mouth. Is your drive hard? Do you have enough RAM? Bend over and let the Raunch upgrade your memory. The RaunchFoxxx cyber sickness. Oozing out of computers everywhere.
Oh,
What's the matter, honey?
I'm trying to put this nail in the wall to hang a picture, but I'm afraid I'll hit my thumb.
Here, give me the hammer and you hold the nail.
What are you doing?
Don't worry, honey. We've got Motrin, the best-selling pain reliever on the market. I'll go get you some.
Are you crazy? My hand!
No need to worry with Motrin's fast-acting pain relief formula. Pain relief so strong, there's really no need to be careful around the house anymore.
I think it's broken.
Oh, come on. If it were broken, you wouldn't be able to catch my new bowling ball. Oops. I'll get the Motrin.
Motrin, go ahead. Hurt yourself. We'll be there when you need us.
Hello, I am Sambu Roy, and like many of you, I had a problem with missing skull. I woke up one morning, scratched my head, and ka-chunk! Half my skull is in my hand.
This is Cy Sperling for the Skull Club for Men. Sambu is like thousands of men with missing skull. Not only is it fatal, it can lower your confidence and self-esteem.
I started losing my skull in my early 20s. I was sick and tired of being called numbskull and half-brain, so I called the Skull Club for Men.
With our non-surgical skull replacement system, we take pieces of skull, don't ask us where we get them, and use a staple gun to replace the missing cranium.
Now, when I run my fingers through Tom's skull, I don't end up with chunks of brain, and it looks so natural.
Thank you, Skull Club for Men.
So call Skull Club for Men today. And remember, I'm not just the Skull Club president, I'm also a member.
Oh, wait a second. That's my skull on the floor. I got it. Oh.
Director J.J. Abrams brought you the beginnings of the Star Trek legend. Now, go back even further with Star Trek Babies.
Goo goo gaga. I want my mommy.
Star Trek Babies. The infant crew of the Starship Enterprise goes boldly into their diapers.
Oops, I seem to have made in my pants. Spock, explain.
Not using the potty is illogical, Captain. Uh-oh.
Oh no, it's happening to the whole crew. Scotty, did you make doo-doo diapers too?
I cannot do it, Captain. I need to eat more steamed peas.
Bones, help.
Damn it, Jim. I'm an infant, not a diaper genie.
Everyone to changing stations. Set phasers to wipe and watch for Klingons.
See the generation before the next generation. Star Trek Babies. Rated G for
Goo Goo Gaga.
And now, back to the only white man that made Shaquille O'Neal look away in the men's locker room. RaunchFoxxx, packing more penis than a Lance Bass Elton John sausage fest.
All right, everybody, welcome back. RaunchFoxxx with you to RaunchFoxxx Foxxcast, kicking it here with my smokescreen machine. This guy loves to bring it. He likes to talk about things you don't read about on everyday news. And, of course, we're talking about Paullywood. And welcome back to the show, everybody. Before we get into some crazy stuff, and we're going to talk about our boy Cliven down there in Nevada, we're going to talk a little bit about our lives in general. And basically, what's happened in the past week, I guess. So, Paullywood. And let me tell you something. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's anything that you ever doubt, just always the correct answer is C. No, the correct answer is Paullywood.
Is it really the correct answer?
Well, based on what you've been telling me this past week, I'd say you're capable of just about anything. Well,
I mean, I could go into how I'm able to nail a fly on the ceiling, but
yeah, you could do that, all right. You know, he was with a girl who was so fat last night, he let her lay on top belly first, and her ass kept getting burned on the light on the ceiling fan. But that's a whole other show in itself. What did I do? You know, I had a pretty good week. You know, this past Saturday was Jen's birthday, and mine is this Saturday, April 19th, for those of you that have my email address and you need to know where to send your gifts. But we had a pretty good time. We took her out. You know, she had a Friday night dinner. We did a Friday night thing. What did we do Saturday, man? You know, I'm so tired. I can't remember what we did. What did we do? Because I had a long fucking day, Paulie. It's been a long day.
Well, it had to have been good if it was good enough for you to forget it. You know what I mean?
No. It was always. Oh, I know what I did. I took her. We went to the Radisson Hotel, and we pimped it there for a little bit. You know, and we got to do, you know, crazy things that we normally wouldn't do at home until she finally said, "Can you please close the fucking blinds?" You know, a lot of people don't understand. I'm 6'10". She's like 5'4". So, you know, without the milk box, I'm pumping air. So, anyway, so you're getting back to that, though. And I remember when I was, when we first moved into this house, they wanted like $10,000 for wooden blinds, you know, custom blinds for the whole house. $10,000, Paulie. $10,000, right? You listen to this? So, you know what I did? I just walked around naked for 2 weeks and the neighbors chipped in. You know, one of the ladies next door, she's like 70 years old. I used to cook breakfast naked. I'm 6'10", so you can imagine what happened when I fried bacon, right? And it was a little dangerous, but she liked it when I stirred the soup. And of course, as long as it wasn't tomato. Oh, but anyway, so we had a good time. Sunday kickback, watch a little bit of sports action. They got some kind of a new international or a universal sports network on cable TV. I think it's an NBC affiliate. I got to be honest with you, I was kind of bored, you know. I mean, at first you saw skiing and slaloming and this and that. And, you know, there was just like basic stuff, and there was really not a lot of energy. And the color commentary guys were like in black and white, man. I think I watched it for about 20 minutes and I had to tune out. So much for a universal sports network as far as them getting a dime of my money. What about you, buddy? I mean, it's been a long week. It's crazy, you know. I know some people. I know that in New York, last Saturday it was like 80 degrees, and of course this week it was like 30 degrees. I mean, how do you maintain up there, man? Because I'm out here, it was 95 in Phoenix today, and you know it's going to be between 80 and 90 all week long. I'm not rubbing it in. I moved out of here from Baltimore, so I have the right to talk about it now. Just like anybody that complains in your area, they could do something about it as well. But I mean, has that any kind of impact on you at all? I mean, you probably don't go out a whole lot, but when you do, how are people handling the 50-degree drop?
Well, it's a couple of different things. I mean, first of all, we're kind of used to it up here. You know, I'm not in the city. I'm up in the foothills of the Adirondacks. So for us, you know, the snowy season really doesn't necessarily end until about the beginning of May. We always know that there's always the possibility of a late April snow. And yeah, you're right. I mean, you know, towards the end of this weekend, it was beautiful, warm. And, you know, it's very much so spring-like. And then just a couple of nights ago, overnight, we got a couple more inches of snow on the ground, and the overnight lows have been back to the wintry, sub-freezing temperatures that they have been. But like I say, we're used to that up here. This it doesn't really impact us the way a few inches of snow on the ground, say, impacts people in Georgia. You know,
right?
So we're used to it. You know, I've just had to turn on the heat at night and kind of stay warm that way. But other than that, you know, let's see. On Friday, I had to surrender my registration and license plates for my Jeep. I've been unable to keep up on my insurance payments, so my registration is going to be suspended until early June. And then on Monday, had an interview with a pest control company, and I'm hoping to hear back from them soon and get back to work killing bugs. But, short of those, no major real events kind of taking place up here. I've reestablished a couple of connections with some long lost friends.
Right. Yeah, I don't understand how you can't get by on a salary that we make here, though. You tell me. Anyway, hey, you liked Robin Williams, didn't you? Or do you?
Yeah. He's brilliant. Great comedian. You know what movie I liked of his the most of all things? 1 Hour Photo. A role that didn't really have...
no, that was a good one. He collected his all his little I don't want to call them Polaroids, but the 1 hour photo stuff. Yeah, he was a kinky little perv in that movie. That was definitely one. But one that I liked when he dressed like a woman was Mrs. Doubtfire. It's been almost 20 years since it's been over 20 years. It was 1993 when it was originally released. Robin Williams and Sally Field were in it. And so guess what? Mrs. Doubtfire 2 is actually in the works.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, he probably won't need as much makeup for this one.
Plus he's probably got some moves right now, too. It was reported actually in the Hollywood Reporter. They said Fox is developing a sequel to the actual film itself. Now, Robin Williams is 62 years old. He's going to reportedly star in the follow-up. It's being directed by a guy named Chris Columbus, and he's actually the same guy that was the director of the first 90s movie, but Sally Field has yet to comment on the flick. Now, if you remember, his name, when he wasn't Mrs. Doubtfire, Robin Williams' name was Daniel Hillard, and he was a single father struggling to connect with his kids after a divorce from his wife. And his wife's name was Miranda, and that was Sally Field. This was in an attempt to become a bigger part of their lives. So he dresses up as a woman. He takes the identity of a caring older nanny, Mrs. Doubtfire, and he interviews with his ex-wife to take care of the children. So cross-dressing, heart-wrenching hijinks, all this ensues as Hillard becomes Mrs. Doubtfire. Now, there was a child actress. Her name was Mara Wilson. She starred in the film as his daughter, Natalie. She was on Twitter after the news broke, and she says, "For the record, I do not have anything to do with the sequel, nor will I. I've been in some mediocre movies, but I've never been in a sequel, and I have no interest in being in one now." She went on to express her skepticism in the movie itself. She said, "Sequels generally suck unless they were planned as part of a trilogy or series. I think Doubtfire ended where it needed to end. I'm glad I had a chance to be in it. I'm proud of what we did, but I don't see how we could do it again." And she also said that she hasn't been asked to appear in the film anyway. She doesn't think a sequel makes sense plot-wise. She loved being in Doubtfire, but she says, "I'm grateful every day I had that experience." Now, the self-proclaimed retired actor, Lisa Jacob, she played the couple's eldest daughter, Lydia. She gave her 2 cents as well. She said, "It's news to me. No one asked me, and I don't know how I would feel about it. Hard to comment without any information." So Doubtfire 2 doesn't have a release date yet. The original 1993 film made $219 million back in 1993 at the domestic box office, won the Academy Award for Best Makeup and Golden Globe Awards for Best Comedy and or Musical and Best Actor for Robin Williams. So I don't know, Paulie. I don't know. I don't know if I can get excited about a sequel, about Granny Doubtfire.
How are they even going to play that out? How bad is his marriage to Miranda in the first place that 20 years later they need to revisit, the same set of problems?
Is there Robin Williams just needs work? I don't know. I don't get it.
I couldn't tell you. Honestly, I can't see him being the kind of person who'd be hard up for work. It seems to me like he'd be able to turn down roles before he had to start, kind of scrounging.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea, bro. I'm out here in Arizona. Nothing exciting happened. Well, I'm lying to you. There was something exciting. Marshall McNabb, the old Philly, the old quarterback. He lives out here in Arizona, and he got released Thursday from an Arizona jail. He served a 1-day sentence for a DUI arrest. 1 day later last year, and the records were released out here by West Mesa Justice Court. And they show that McNabb served his time Wednesday and was released about 1:30 in the afternoon. This is how hard up they are for news out here. McNabb's 37 years old. He got arrested December 15th in the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community, according to the records. Shows that McNabb was stopped on the 101 freeway just after 3 o'clock in the morning. They clocked his Range Rover at 81 and a 65. He was also cited for a DUI. No information about his blood alcohol level was on the citation. He pleaded guilty. 9 days of his sentence was suspended. He had to pay $1,500 fine and enter an outpatient treatment program in Scottsdale from April 10th to July 8th. Maricopa County Sheriff's Office released McNabb's mugshot. You can look it up online if you want. He just is like, oh, Christ, I can't believe I'm caught. Also, the same agency said later that McNabb was booked into a detention facility on Wednesday by order of the Justice Court. He served 1 day for the misdemeanor DUI charge. And I don't know, misdemeanor DUI charge. It's kind of like one of those oxymorons. It's like, jumbo shrimp. Oh, it's just a DUI charge, but it's a little one. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure there's been people who've been killed with little DUI charges. Wouldn't you agree, Paulie?
Well, maybe it's also an indication of what his BAC actually was. I mean, maybe he was just right around the legal limit. And, I don't know how they do things out west, but I know that in New York State they take DUIs very, very seriously.
Well, I don't know if you ever heard of Sheriff Joe Arpaio, the toughest sheriff in the nation, and he's out here as well. But anyway, McNabb, 13 years in the NFL, was drafted a second overall pick in 1999, led the Eagles to 4 straight NFC championships from 2001 to 2004, had the Super Bowl berth, where they lost to the Patriots 24-21 in the 2005 Super Bowl. He also played for the Redskins in 2010, the Vikings in 2011, then he retired. He's currently co-hosting a sports talk radio show, and he lives out here in Phoenix. So anyway, well, he's in the news, probably not the way that he wants to be.
Good luck to you in the sports broadcasting too, Mr. McNabb, because you were horrible as a quarterback for the Redskins.
Yeah.
Stunk.
It just didn't work out. What else is exciting? Donnie Wahlberg, he's banging Jenny McCarthy, and now they're going to get married. It's, I love you too. I don't know if you ever see that. I don't even want to talk about him. It's they're as disgusting as the Kardashians, but he's going to marry Jenny McCarthy, and maybe he's not as funny as Jim Carrey, but anyway, it is what it is.
Well, I mean, would you say that he's more accomplished as an actor than Jim Carrey, or less? Because Jim Carrey had a pretty successful run with a lot of comedies in the 90s, and of course
you want to compare. Now remember, it's Donnie, not Mark Wahlberg. It's his brother Donnie. So, and that's an easy one. Obviously, Carrey's it's hands down. He's the man.
Well, then Donnie is definitely suitable for picking up Jim Carrey's leftovers.
There you go. Pretty much it exactly. And then I don't have to look at her being a douche on the New Year's Eve bash with what's his face, Ryan Seacrest. Anyway. What else who else has been spreading their legs lately? Oh, Chelsea Clinton. She's pregnant.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Bill and Hillary are going to be grandparents. Her and her husband, Mark Mezvinsky, openly spoke about last year wanting to make 2014 the year of the baby. And they want to start a family. So it is what it is. They reported she's pregnant. And, the former first daughter, she announced it at a No Ceilings women's event in New York City, which was hosted by the Clinton Foundation. She says, Mark and I are very excited that we have our first child arriving later this year, and I certainly feel all the better, whether it's a girl or a boy, that she or he will grow up in a world full of so many strong, young female leaders. So thank you for inspiring me, and thank you for inspiring future generations, including the one that will be lucky enough to welcome into our family later this year. I just hope that I will be as good a mom to my child as hopefully children as my mom was to me. She also said that Mark and I are also thrilled to be expecting our first child in the fall. Thank you for all your kind words. Hillary was also at the event and reportedly said that she was really excited about having a grandchild. And we're okay. We're thrilled for Chelsea and Mark. They got married in 2010, so they waited long enough. We can't wait to hear more details about her pregnancy. Then the UK can watch these two like we had to watch those people over there. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. But she's pregnant. And
the Clinton bloodline is going to carry on, is what you're saying.
It's going to carry on. I did not have sex with that woman, but I tell you what, I still love the days of Monica Bluklinski, and we'll leave it at that. I got one other question for you real quick. What's the deal with Mexican Coke?
It's probably a lot cheaper than the stuff you can find in Miami.
Well, actually, Paulie, Coca-Cola is everywhere.
That kind of Coke.
Yeah, I mean, it's cousin to the south. Mexican Coca-Cola is actually going to be harder to find, and for some, it's kind of like a holy grail of sodas. Mexicoke, as the glass-bottled version is known to fans, has been profiled in the New York Times. Liked by more than 10,000 people on its Facebook page, has gained a cult foodie following by a certain type of cool customer. But why is this Coke so different from any other? I mean, which can be found pretty much everywhere. And is the supposed difference really an urban myth? Well, where it comes from. The myth, right? Well, it's no surprise. I mean, Mexican Coke is from, you guessed it, Mexico. And believers claim that Mexican Coke is a superior version of its American counterpart for a couple reasons. Number one, they say it has a superior taste. Some like the cool glass bottle, and others still claim it isn't the container, but rather what's inside. In many instances, Mexican Coke's ingredients include sugar rather than high fructose corn syrup. HFCS, generally used to sweeten the American version, and that, of course, is a good thing, according to its admirers. Now, if you're going to have a choice between high fructose corn syrup or sugar, I guess you got to take the sugar. Also, the urban legend factor itself, that there's been some question about whether Mexican Coke's sugar content is what's called apocryphal or apocryphal. And the sugar claim was first debunked back in 2010. They did a scientific analysis when no sugar was detected in a sample of the Mexican Coke. Somebody bought it over in East LA. Instead, as reported by Food Beast, near equal amounts of glucose and fructose were found, indicators of high fructose corn syrup. But that's one report, but clearly this matter does merit serious study. It's nice to talk about something besides Chicken McNuggets. I mean, we got to ask ourselves, does sugar by another name taste as good? Mexican Coke has high fructose corn syrup. Sorry to disillusion you. Lady Marian Nestle, a food nutritionist at New York University, she says nobody can tell the difference. It's all sugars, and the less the better. So to add to the confusion, Mexico approved a plan to tax soda, leading the Mexican bottler to announce last year that it would move away from sugar, depend on the cheaper high fructose corn syrup to sweeten the Mexican Coca-Cola. So everybody's screaming about it, but the one defining characteristic is it stands out by having the Spanish words, how do you pronounce it, Hecho en Mexico, on the bottle. Perhaps that's a little difference that drives its fan club to seek it out. It is what it is. I mean, drink Coke from Mexico. It might remind people of home and thus their heritage, but it is a cult favorite. It's a cool factor. It might be a case where looks really do matter, but then there's something about the throwback bottle too. But it is what it is. Bottom line, Paulie, whether or not Mexican Coke actually tastes better, and probably always will be, is going to be open to debate. So it just popped up in the news, and I did have one once in my life, and I said, please, they say don't drink the water, and I'm thinking, well, what did they make this with? Am I going to get the shits after I drink it? But it was pretty good. Can't lie, it was pretty good.
Well, I mean, do you remember it being significantly different from a Coke bottled here in the States?
Yeah, just a little bit of a different flavor. I mean, you get used to the corn syrup or the diet soda aspartame, which I haven't had a soda in almost 2 years now. Thank you very much. Learned my lesson the hard way. But the bottom line was I remember it had a distinct flavor, and it was sweet, and it was good back then when I was slamming soda.
Compared to Pepsi, Coke isn't quite as sweet tasting, at least not here in the States. So, I mean, maybe you are onto something there.
Yeah, and I remember Pepsi Clear back in the day, too. But anyway. Well, listen, Paulie, you're our smokescreen machine. And Paulie and I, we're going to be doing a new segment real soon on the network. We're going to call it Scam Shooters. It's going to be nothing but conspiracy theory, and we're going to bring stuff to you that, you read your mainstream media, and the news gives it to you, and they tell you what they're told to tell you. And we're going to be bringing stuff from behind the scenes. And that's going to bring us into our little segment tonight with Paulie. And, of course, we're going to be talking about Clive and Bundy down in Nevada. What's been going on with Agenda 21. We're going to try and tie some of that stuff together. Paulie's got his own methods. Of course, my question is, why does the federal government own 84% of Nevada? And what can Harry Reid do to give it back? I mean, face it, this guy can easily arrange for his home state to get back most of that 84% of the Nevada territory. But Paulie probably has a reason that could be so easy. But the bottom line is, does the Democrat represent the interest of Nevada? Or does he put the interest of the U.S. government, the Democratic Party, over his own state's needs? So, Paulie, let's get into this a little bit because, forget the fact that the Malaysian jetliner not only is lost, it dropped off the face of the CNN page and all the other media. And then there's 300 plus kids and still, over there with the in South Korea with the ferry, the capsized. They're still rescuing kids, but I don't know when you got 300 or 400 people staring at you, they say nobody move as the ship tilts and starts to sink. Nobody move, but. It's nothing but distractions, buddy. Nothing but distractions. But let's hear what you're thinking. And you got the floor, man. And, I like what you have to say, and I think our listeners will, too.
Well, let me first ask you in regards to the land seizure out in Nevada. Now, you're in Arizona, so you're fairly close to to the focal point here. When was the first time you had heard about it, and did you find out about it on mainstream media, or did you find it, like most people did, through various sources on the internet?
Well, whether it was Live Leak or the Drudge Report or whatever, I found it on one of the non-mainstream sites. And of course, and I got to tell you, we're Renegade Talk Radio, and I was really excited when they called Clive Bundy the Renegade Rancher. So this is the kind of story that's right up our alley. And the bottom line is, if Reed drafted a measure to treat his state the same way as other states, the Republican-led U.S. House of Representatives probably would vote to treat Nevada like a grown-up. Instead, Reed runs the U.S. Senate with an iron fist to the detriment of his own voters. And there's still even more, though, with Harry Reid, because what you see is not what you get. So give it to me.
Well, one of the reasons why you only heard about, the Nevada ranch situation online is because there was a gag order imposed on U.S. mainstream media. Total silence regarding this story. And so when it finally did surface on mainstream media, the situation had more or less been resolved. But for people who don't quite know, about a week and a half ago or so, heavily armed agents began occupying the area of a ranch in Nevada, and they were taking the cattle and loading them into federal trucks and taking them to auction. And at first, the only protesters were members of the Bundy family and their close friends and people who were kind of aware of what was going on. And there were videos that were starting to surface on YouTube that were showing how these Bureau of Land Management agents, which I guess is a federal agency akin to, say, the Department of Homeland Security, but, with more of an environmental focus. They began shoving these people around. They used a taser on Clive Bundy's son. They shoved a pregnant woman down to the ground who, all of these people peacefully protesting, totally unarmed. And that's really when the story kind of started to pick up steam on the internet. Well, the reason at first that was given as for why this land was being seized by the Bureau of Land Management was, believe this or not, to protect a species of turtle that is native to the area. So they were moving cattle, off of this territory to protect turtles. And what actually ends up surfacing after a successful standoff by members of militias that swarmed through the area from various states. So they finally got the Bureau of Land Management off of the Nevada ranch.
I got to say something to you, but you're talking about the turtles, but they're slamming him with, they want to slam him with all the payments. When he had that showdown with the BLM, right? The militia supporting him. He's got all these guys behind him. He said before they tried to hit him with that million back taxes or whatever, he said he'd been paying grazing fees to Clark County, but the county stopped accepting his payments. And he said that, in fact, he insisted that Nevada, not the government, owned the land where his cattle grazed. And according to his argument, he says the federal government owned or controlled every territory before it became a state. But once the statehood was reached, the land became the property of the new state. So his argument basically is, hey, we were paying Clark County. They stopped accepting payments, period.
Well, and his family had been using that land since sometime in the 1860s, which is about when, we're talking about Nevada becoming part of the Union. So he was doing his part. Obviously, the county wasn't taking his payments, but he was making them. But I think the amount that they listed was about $1.8 million in back fees that the Federal Bureau or the Department of Land Management is saying that he owes. So there was a little bit of a money dispute. But as it turns out, and once this information surfaced, that was when the focus all kind of shifted. The son of Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, Rory Reid, is the primary representative for ENN Energy Group, which is a Chinese energy company that was seeking to build about a $5 billion solar panel plant on a 9,000-acre part of the land in Clark County. And that was actually out in Laughlin, Nevada. Now, the ENN scored big when Clark County commissioners unanimously voted to sell the Chinese company the public land for just $4.5 million, despite the fact that it was appraised somewhere at around $38.6. Now, Senator Reid has been one of ENN's biggest supporters, having recruited the company during a 2011 trip to China. Now, according to Reuters, last month, Senator Reid tried to pressure Nevada's largest power company, Nevada Energy, to sign up as ENN's first customer. So, I mean, what you're seeing here is Harry Reid using a little bit of his influence to impact.
For his son.
For his son Rory. Now, both Rory and Harry have denied ever discussing the $5 billion Chinese solar panel plant deal. I mean, and can you blame them? He's quoted as saying, "I have never discussed the project with my father or his staff."
I call bullshit. And another thing, they're trying to tear up the Constitution, man. I mean, way back when, Western states, they were treated unequally. When they joined the Union. You mentioned joining the Union. I want to interject then. Unlike the eastern states, the Congress had reserved the vast amounts of the federally owned land in what was called the Enabling Acts for statehood of the West. In the U.S. Constitution, I think it's Article 4, Section 4, you all want to look it up if you could go Google it, it says that it requires an act of Congress to create a state, keeping the majority of land in federal control. Seems in conflict, though, with the very concept of statehood. So the second paragraph, it appeared to authorize the bizarre practice of self-enclosure inspection. It's far from clear. So, okay, so now we're gonna mess a little bit with the Constitution, and we're gonna say, well, wait a minute, federal land here, but it's supposed to be controlled by the state. And oh, wait a minute, here comes the Chinese. Oh, wait a minute, here's Harry's son. Before it's all over, they're gonna try and tie it all in. They're gonna take it all the way back to the beginning again and try to dissect it. But the bottom line is, in Nevada, their Constitution, they have what's called an ordinance section that adopts the requirements of the Congressional Enabling Act that we were talking about. The second rewrite of the state constitution got approved by voters back in 1864 when Nevada became the 36th state. It's October 31st to be exact. And Nevada agreed to let federal government own unappropriated land within the state unless otherwise provided by the Congress of the United States. So that in itself could create a legitimate argument.
Well, what I think this all kind of ties to is something that goes back not quite as far, but to 1992 and a summit in Rio de Janeiro, and it's something called UN Agenda 21. And what a UN Agenda 21 is a 400-chapter, 300-page resolution drafted, and its primary focus is a term called sustainable growth, or the conscientious use and treatment of natural resources and the planet itself. It's a plan that was drafted under the guise of preserving and protecting the environment from the negative impact of human activity on the planet. Now, have you ever heard of UN Agenda 21, Raunch?
Agenda 21, no, but I do know that especially the rural areas of Nevada, the Nevadans, if you will, they've been pushing the idea of state takeovers of federal lands for years. So, all this stuff's starting to come to surface. So let's tie Agenda 21 in now. Let's look at the big picture. Go ahead, Paulie.
Well, in so many words, the United Nations seeks to co-opt via individual governments and eventually a one-world government private-held land under the auspices of ensuring sustainability. Worse still, UN Agenda 21 has even laid out plans for depopulation and population control. I mean, it sounds like it's something out of a George Orwell novel. And that's because Agenda 21's tenets are eerily in line with the demented alternate reality Orwell himself had imagined while scribing the pages of his famed novel. So what you're seeing, in my opinion, with this land grab is, our government acting, kind of as a puppet to this UN subserviency, testing and prodding and checking out, testing the waters really with the people to see how they're going to implement this and what kind of a resistance they're going to face. Now, it's important to note that this was an agenda that was not only signed on by, at the time, I believe it was actually President Bush towards the end of his tenure, but every president since then has adhered to this. And it's basically, the formation of this new world order that we hear about, where, so what they're trying to do with this is determine where people can live and what land should be designated for the world under fully realized Agenda 21, that land will be controlled by the United Nations and a future one world government. So consider the following section of the UN website on Agenda 21's plan for promoting sustainable human settlement development. The emphasis is added that the overall human settlement objective is to improve social, economic, and environmental quality of human settlements and living and working in environments of all people. Yeah, boring stuff.
Yeah, dude, you know what? I can sit and read the paper. I want to hear what the fuck you think. Here's the bottom line, dude. This is Renegade. And you got to remember one thing. You're talking about websites. Let's talk about websites for a minute. Let's talk about the BLM website. They purged shit off the website. Obviously, it was more than the tortoises at stake. You said it yourself, the $5 billion for the energy project with Reed and his son directly involved. And here's the American cattle rancher standing in the way. All of a sudden, here's federal agents armed with guns, the full power of the federal government themselves. You heard Carl Higbie on the show here on Renegade Talk Radio. He said, what the hell are the members of the BLM doing with firearms that he used when he was a Navy SEAL, for Christ's sake? You know, so what could go wrong, Paulie? What could go wrong?
We're a world power that is beginning to wane in the face of the global community. And what happens with a world power when its power begins to wane in the face of the global community, they turn their defense apparatus inwards towards citizens.
Yeah, but the bottom line is we got to pull out those guns because we have to protect the gopher tortoises.
Well, and in all due honesty, the tortoises are obviously not the concern. The government kills them too. And I mean, when you think about it, exactly how valuable can land in Nevada be? We've detonated hundreds of nuclear bombs out there. Hundreds of them. I mean, Nevada was the home of all of those test sites. I think compared to any other location on the planet, more nuclear weapons have been detonated in Nevada than anywhere else.
That's true. That's I'm sure that is true. You're right. And when you think about it, I think if the deal would have went through, they probably would have said something like turtle soup for everyone. You know, but now, like the soup Nazi says, Reed, no soup for you. Of course, that's just a RaunchFoxx opinion.
Well, the bottom line is I believe that our government is starting to test the waters of a martial law type system. They're testing to see whether or not they have enough people employed in these various agencies who will be willing to sit out there with firearms that are equivalent to the ones that Navy SEALs carry and aim them and actually shoot them at people. Now, what you had was, you know, a public response that drove those people away, that drove those agencies away, and they did not exhibit or demonstrate a willingness to fire on their fellow Americans. And I think what you're seeing really here is the very beginning of the demise of the left agenda in this country. I think what you're going to see is more and more people are going to start standing up to this nonsense.
Well, you know what? I think we outnumber them. I think we do. I think they got the weapons and the machinery to control crowds. But at the end of the day, I still think there's more of us. But because, you know, we just ingest all the fluoride and we're just good little puppies and nobody looks up in the air at what they've been breathing anyway. At the end of the day, you know, it's like, oh, whatever. But can you imagine now, you know, what do they say? Harry Reid says, well, it's not over yet. You can't just oppose the government and do what you want. It's not. This isn't over. It's not over. So what do you think's going to happen? What if this guy gets arrested? Is there going to be a revolt? What's going to happen? Because you know what? I think that's right. Because, you know, the biggest mistake I think that they made in media was saying, the feds are pulling out. The feds are pulling out. What kind of a message did that send across the country? It sent the message that, hey, we can fuck with the military. We can fuck with the government. We can fuck with the Bureau of Land Management. We can do whatever we want because we can win. And think what's really going to happen when it's all said and done if they start putting that imaginary thought in people's heads across the country. And you said it yourself, getting back to martial law and everything else. I think this is just one step in a grand plan of population control, and conspiracy theory goes on and on. But is it really conspiracy theory? Because 10 years ago, if you had a conspiracy theory, you were a kook. Today, it's a viable option.
Well, two things, Raunch. The first of which is that, yes, when that story came out, it sent the message that yes, when the people stand up to the government, the people kind of overpower the government, that the greater sense of will and purpose is still in our court. But then there's this other aspect of that. I mean, maybe what they're doing is just trying to pacify those who didn't get off of their feet. Maybe what they're trying to do is say, okay, everything's normal now. Go back to your thing. Go back to, your television and your TV dinners. But it sends a distracting message, because now if they go back and they try to retake this land, or they try to up the pressure, people are going to have it in their minds, well, you know what? We only needed 500 people on horseback to put this thing down, so maybe I don't need to get all up in arms about this. I mean, it may be sending a pacifying message. This thing has yet to fully play out.
Right. And another, just as far as I'm concerned, is another diversion. I mean, we're getting into the final 10 minutes of the show because we've been going here, but it's actually, we're going to play it out and see what's happening. Definitely, that Chinese company's not going to go away. Even they say they took the deal off the table over a year ago, which I don't buy. And then, of course, the what we were talking about earlier, changing gears real quick with the Malaysian airliner story. What happened? Oh, today they say that this airline's flights could cost nearly $250 million if they use private companies to continue this thing. And I guess, folks, what we're saying is, we're so diverted. What's going on with Russia? What's going on over there? Vladimir, he breaks up with his old lady after 30 years. So he's a free man. He's a cockster, and he's feeling his oats. What is going on, Paulie? What is going on with our country? I mean, the bottom line is, if they get back to that Malaysian airliner, and God, if it's true, rest in peace, and God bless the families. But, they sent that Bluefin 21 out like 5 trips, right? They sent it into the southern Indian Ocean. They said it scanned about 42.5 square miles without making any contacts. All of a sudden, we got the pings narrowed down. Now there's no pings. Now it's this. Now it's that. The bottom line is this underwater drone scan. Again, just something to keep interest. See how unless you're directly affected with these stories, you just start losing interest after a while. You lose interest after a while. I go all the way back to Y2K, and it's been nothing but 14 years of bullshit from flus and the flu viruses and the pandemics and all the shit. They're always trying to keep us in a state of fear or redirect our attentions to other stories. And unfortunately now, with social media and the fact that we're clicker, slicker, faster, sharper, and we are awakened. And we look up in the air and we read between the lines and we don't believe anymore. You question everything, folks. It's tough for them to come up with stories, so they just keep playing them out until they fade out, or people just get tired of them and they start something new. The same thing is happening here, but go ahead.
Let me ask you, I mean, when the first time that Malaysian airline flight story surfaced, what was it you thought that they were either trying to hide or distract us from? I mean, what was your opinion?
I was high on the alien theory, but the first thing that they said, they talked about all the executives, that died on that so-called crash that they thought, and then people had the ownership to trademarks and so on and so forth. And then that story went away. And then about 4.5 weeks later, it resurfaced again with the executives. They went everything from suicides and running out of gas and losing power and going into the Vietnam territory, coming in as a blank plane in the middle of the night. So they freaked out and said, we better turn around because we're going to get shot out of the air with a missile because we can't respond. All those different stories. We can sit here for an hour and rehash all of it. It still doesn't, at the end of the day, solve a fucking thing.
No, and I mean, to be honest with you, I really stopped paying attention to the story early on because I thought I saw it for what it was, which was basically just a distraction. I mean, we have been on the verge of World War III with Russia with this situation.
Oh, yeah, that's what was going on. That's what it was. Yeah, a potential of that. Yeah, exactly. But they kept diverting this because every 3 days they found new debris. They found all this debris, all these clues from debris. I mean, even the Vietnams, oh, yeah, we see it, and then they send naval ships out. There's nothing here. Bullshit. I would hate to have been one of the relatives of one of the alleged victims.
Well, and you say, what's going on in this country? Why are we being distracted? Why are we being given all of these red herrings to chase? It's not just the country. It's the whole world, Raunch. I mean, there are countries where people are rioting, like Venezuela. They're rioting because there's food shortages and they're limiting access to people to get food. I mean, people can only shop one day out of the week, and that means the whole country is rushing to Walmart on one day out of the week to try and get their food. It's crazy what's going on. Absolutely crazy. And eventually it's going to come back home here. When the United States dollar collapses, and it's coming, we are going to see turmoil in this country like you would not believe. That's why they've got this big push to get guns out of our hands, because they don't want to face 500 or 5,000 different of these Nevada situations when it all finally does start coming down on them. And they're not going to get our guns. I mean, you've got police agencies that are refusing flat out to do it. They're saying, to hell with this. F it. I'm not gonna try and round up these hundreds upon thousands of weapons in my community and face taking a bullet from the one whack job who says F you.
But you're forgetting something. It just hasn't happened yet. We're a couple of days behind. That blood moon happened, and something's going to happen in the blood. I've been watching over Jerusalem in that area. Haven't seen a whole lot happening yet, but that blood moon's going to bring something. I guarantee it's going to bring something, and they've already set us up to blame it on the blood moon, but they're already behind in that, just like they're behind finding the plane. They're behind saving the kids on the ferry that's sinking, and now they're getting behind wondering if Cliven Bundy is even going to be kept out of incarceration, so to speak. So, again, a lot of unfinished business, a lot of carrots being waved. But I tell you what, I'm so glad for social media, and I can see pictures on Twitter or other places when something's going down with our soldiers before it makes the front page news. So God bless social media. And, of course, it'll get to the point one day where the government says, you know what, we're just going to have to turn off the Internet. We're going to have to just shut down all communication and seize this country. Can you imagine? It's going to be so easy. It's going to be so easy to seize the country. There's not going to be any world war with missiles and tanks and bloodshed. It's going to be a fucking cyber war. We've already done it. Remember the rolling blackouts? There was a blackout in California, a blackout in Indiana, a blackout in New York, a blackout in Virginia. If you look at where they had these random blackouts over the last couple years, they were all in different segments of the country. So when they throw the main switch, the whole country goes down. They shut down Wall Street. They shut down the banks. They shut down our electric. They shut down our water. People in hospitals, they can cripple us by just shutting down and shutting down the Internet. And don't think that each country hasn't already tested that. We're already up in each other's asses on our grids and with the Internet. It's going to be a cyber war, and it's going to shut everybody down. And it's that easy to control. So all you vigilantes and all you people out there that are trying to be big badasses and you're going to save Bundy and you're just going to do it and you're not going to let the government come in, they can be sitting there in their underwear in a mass control center throwing switches and shutting our lives down to the point where we're all going to kill each other trying to get bread and water. Is that a scenario, folks? Sounds like a movie, but you know what? That's the way it is. Deal with it, and you can say whatever you want. And Paulie, the same with you. We can come up with any excuse. The bottom line is when it's time to turn out the lights, it's lights out, and there won't be one fucking missile. There won't be one nuclear bomb. There won't be one soldier killed. It's all going to be done electronically, and we're fucked.
God, I wish I could say I disagree with you, Raunch. I really do. But, we've made the mistake in this society of becoming a very centralized society. There was a time when everything was more local and a local economy could keep people going forever. That's what it's going to take to defeat this is for people, as opposed to picking up their guns and rioting in the streets over a packet of food in the Walmart, coming together and saying, how can we start growing things? How can we start providing for ourselves at a local level so that we're not dependent on these assholes who sit up there with their hand on the switch just waiting to throw it, like you said.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly. I love doing my little spoofs of the news, and we like to make fun of the news. And, it's for 9 years, the RaunchFoxxx Foxxcast, home of the corny-ass laugh track, which happens to be a laugh track from the I Love Lucy sitcom days, so I throw a little retro giggle in here and there. And, it's just a staple of what we do. But, as Renegade grows, we come to realize in our older ages as we mature that the country is worried more about what the fuck is going on with health care, what's going on with our lives, what's going on with the economy, what about the kids and the grandkids, what do they have to look forward to? So while I joke around as the RaunchFoxx guy, we're going to start bringing you some very good guests. We're going to ask some super compelling questions, and we're going to let the experts tell you exactly what it is. And it's not going to be mainstream experts. It's going to be anything from a conspiracy theorist that makes total sense to a whistleblower. And we're going to bring it all to you because that is what Renegade Talk Radio is all about. And we want to give it to you right between the eyes. And then you can go back to your lollygag lives and listen to Fox or read CNN and just read what the media tells tells them what to say to us. And, just change channels one night. Go from CBS to NBC to ABC. Listen, they all are saying the same thing. Just if they run the same story at the same time, and sometimes they do, but they all read the same fucking script. So, Paulie.
Mr. RaunchFoxx, I love how we have done what we have done in the past month, that we've stuck to a morning show format, but really now it's time for this morning show to start and become a wake-up call.
Really is.
We really need to do.
It really is.
To wake people up.
And with that being said, That wraps up episode number 9 here, the RaunchFoxxx Foxxcast. And you can reach me on Twitter at RaunchFoxxx with 3 X's, YouTube, the same thing, Google Plus, the same thing, and on Skype, if you decide you see me online, you want to say, hey, I heard the show, it's also RaunchFoxxx. So be sure to check us out. Paullywood, I want to thank you again. Look forward to a new segment we're going to be doing soon, a separate show called Scam Shooters. And we're going to save this show for the fun and crazy things that happen in the world. But we're just going to be truly a talk network, and not just specifically politics, not just specifically comedy, not specifically sports. We're going to give you all types of things, and God knows we've got the people to do it. We got Richie and Marla kicking it, and you can hear them going back and forth. We've got Carl Higbie running for Congress out of Connecticut. Check him out, ex-Navy SEAL, Higbie, Higbie. I've had so many people, and Paula, you said it yourself. You said, man, I wished I lived in Connecticut. I'd vote for this guy.
Absolutely would. I listened to him speak just the other day. I listened to his podcast. The man was as compelling as they come, but he's a man of the people. He spoke my language. He spoke your language. He's the kind of guy that should be getting attention. He's the kind of guy that people should be voting for, but mainstream media, they're going to ignore him. They're going to try and bury him. They're going to try and marginalize him. Let's hope that enough people out there support this guy and that he can get the kind of funding he needs to battle those big wigs, because we need somebody like that in our corner.
There you go. All right, so go to carlhigbie.com. Support the guy. $5, $10, $20, $1,000. Every penny counts. And you've been listening to me, RaunchFoxxx, him, Paullywood, Natty C. Nope, she caught a chest cold, and with those double F's, God knows she's sick. So with that, everybody, this is the RaunchFoxxx Foxxcast, RenegadeTalkRadio.com. We'll be back next week. Lots of things happening. We certainly do love the fact that you check us out. You can get us on iTunes, on Podomatic, on Spreaker, on Stitcher, on RaunchFoxx.com, and on RenegadeTalkRadio.com. So with that, Paulie, thank you, my brother, and we'll be talking this week, and I hope you have a great night, my friend.
You too, Raunch. Thanks for keeping me on, man.
All right, and remember, crowded elevator smells different to a little guy. See you next time.